I'm top Orlando Realtor Scott Garrison with ReMax Town Country, Orlando's #1 real estate company. And we're at the entrance at Whiz and River Oaks, here on River Oaks, which is easily findable on your GPS, out in Osteen. Today we're looking at 1237 Whiz Lane, Osteen, Florida, 32764. 12.5 acres of vacant land. Why are we starting way out here by the garbage can? Because this is where you come in. A lot of people say, well, my goodness, I have trouble finding it. So that's why I'm starting here, because that's why you want to buy this land. Because you have trouble finding it, because it's private, because you have virtually no neighbors, because this is the old-fashioned Florida lifestyle, where the land and your lifestyle become one. A billion reasons to buy this property, and we're going to talk about it. And when you walk in, you leave the city and you enter the country. This is St. John's Riverfront. It's 200 feet wide. Goes back 2,500 feet. That's a half a mile straight back. Acres and acres and acres of land. To your own private Florida paradise. So what I find is that if we don't walk in and you don't get experience for what it's like to walk in, you kind of say, well, where is this? How does it? And then you come up for yourself and you'll be scared to come down here because it is so private, and that's why you want to do this. Got a big parcel there. I was reading the other day about in medieval England, everyone lived on minimum 10-acre estates. And they grew their own crops, and their land and their lifestyle was one. And when you owned property, it was what you did. It was your little fiefdom. Nowadays, we buy $1 million house, and all we have is a bunch of bills, a couple landscapers coming out. We got a property. We don't ever go into the backyard or go into the front yard. It's just a big house on a big lot. And that's what our fiefdoms have been reduced to. But here, you can have your own estate, your own kingdom, well tucked away. Especially if you have need for or want livestock. There's cattle roaming on this place. It's a horseback riding paradise. There's burros in a side of a fence, not running around. There are wild turkeys that are running around. There's white-tailed deer out here that I think actually have black tails that are as big as a cow. Raccoons, armadillos. So this is all one parcel from here all the way down. I think he's got a couple of pigs on it, chickens. All right, so you got a couple of properties here. Got one here. Give you a feel for how few neighbors. Our land is down there to the end. And on the left. This probably may be a little bit wider than our subject property. But there is no way that anyone like you is going to buy this land and never go in the front yard, backyard, never have an estate. Notice how far back that house is. It's about where yours will go. This is one where your cattle, your horses, your livestock There's a community access road that you can take a two-wheel drive vehicle down if you want to pull a boat. It's a hard-packed sand boat ramp on the St. Johns. You know what people do to live on the St. Johns? You have 200 feet on the St. Johns, the quietest section of the river. So this used to be owned by fewer people, so there was a gate across here. By fewer people, there's like one or two more people that's own it now, so I think this is open most of the time. If you come through this gate, down Whiz. Just yesterday, the owner sent me a picture of a traffic jam on Whiz here, which consisted of 9 turkeys that were about as big as me. All coming down in a line. And that's a traffic jam in the country. That's all you're going to see is wild turkeys, deer, and your own cattle. You've got pine woods towards the front. We're not in a flood zone. Mixed in with a few oak trees, which makes a beautiful yard. This guy bought this, I don't know, about a year ago or so. Putting that up now. Look at that. Right now, talk about people who want to build something. This guy, he's building something. All right, this is the neighbor next to you. This is the leftmost or easternmost line for his. And it goes all the way down here for 200 feet. And then your property is the part on the grass right there. First thing we're going to do is just pop into here, into the neighbor's house, just so you can get a feel for how wide it is and where your house is liable to go. It's the same width, 200 feet, starts there, goes quite a ways over, and your house is going to go back about that far as well. So we got from there all the way down to about there. I don't know if you can see the gray bucket there. That's the property line. So 200 feet wide, 2,600 feet long. That is a half a mile. No matter how you take a picture of it, your land will literally stretch to the horizon. We're walking along the easternmost, leftmost side of the land. Give you a feel for what's up there. Zoned rural conservation. With an agricultural exemption. What does that mean? Well, that means your property taxes right now. You buy this house, property taxes, get out your calculator. They need you to calculate your taxes. Ready? Every year they run, here's the formula, $11.50 a year. A year! $11.50 a year is what you pay. Keep some cattle on it. It's free to own the land. So this is the house next door. This is your land right here. this house is not in a flood zone. Flood zone starts there-ish. Your flood zone starts here-ish. So it's entirely possible for you to put your house here, but not be in a flood zone. Have your 13 acres running back. But why I'm showing you this is I want you to look at these oak trees. These are the kind of oak trees you couldn't create in a generation or two. If you plant them now, your grandchildren won't see them like this. And these trees could be your front yard, in your front yard. Be your front yard. So you've got beautiful, private, wooded, silent, wildlife-filled land in the front here. You can see the pine trees. Those are longleaf pines. You can see the oak trees, which are amazing. And that's the part where you're going to build your house. If you want to clear a good part of it, you could make it look something like this, depending on your tastes and preferences. Now let's go back to the road. So we're back to the main road where the early morning traffic jam, so the wild turkeys happen. We're walking along the front of your land here. Look at those trees. That's amazing. I would cry if you took those out. Your driveway is going to come out somewhere here, depending on where you want to put it. Got this little section that's kind of open here. So go back and give you a feel for the land. Beautiful. Be ready. It is ready to be turned into a yard. Look at that forest. That's just amazing. So we talked about the first third of the land. The very front, no flood zone, oak and pine forest. Pull your driveway out here, drive down there, go around the corner. That's where we started. But that's not why you're going to own the property. You're going to own the property because of the rest of it. So then we go to the middle of the property. And the middle property are acres and acres and acres of savanna and grassland. Our Florida straight tree, the palmetto tree. There's a cattle pond dug there. There's actually cattle wandering around amongst the deer. You can put horses out here. And the people who live here love that. So, you want to put cattle, horses, livestock, rabbits, chickens, goats, llamas, whatever you want. Got to remember to pay that tax, $11.50 a year. That's it for your property taxes. And you have a paradise. Actually, we're at the end of Whiz Road here. This is a 37-acre tract. And virtually, we saw your neighbors on the left in that house. These are your neighbors. So people say, well, I want to get away. You want to get away? Come talk to these folks. Because that's who you're going to see every day. Adorable. So the middle section goes on and on and on. Sometimes it's a little wet. Sometimes it's not. If you're going to get into the middle of it, you need a four-wheel drive, which you're going to live here, you're probably going to have. So we close the gate. We've got real agriculture going here. And this is the side of your property. These are 13-acre parcels. The public record is going to say yours is 12.4 acres. Why is that? Because this community access road goes back and back. I'll show you later in the video. And back all the way to the third part, the St. Johns River. This is actually an easement on your property. Who's going to use this? Well, they're going to want to use it. And that's about the only neighbors who are really going to use it. There's 2 or 3 neighbors who may come back here once a year. But from my understanding, you take a regular car, drag your boat straight down, 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 down. Show you that later in the video. And put your car and your boat, hard-packed sand boat ramp on the St. Johns River. Listen to that. That's your front yard. Like, who would want to live here? So what about the St. Johns River? Well, the St. Johns River, it's north of Lake Monroe, north of the bridge, so only smaller boats can get through. And it's the quietest part of the St. Johns River. I've been out there for an hour and I didn't see one boat go by. Now there's boats that people have boat houses, docks. You can do that too if you want. So you can have boats, but just because it's this location, there's not many. So it's private, it's quiet, you can hike, camp, fish, picnic. From what I understand, the people who are in the know come right off of your part of the St. Johns River to catch prize-winning bass. There's like a few secret spots there. But the bass are huge, and when they have fishing contests, people come here, fish from the river, catch these big bass. If you're a fisherman, you are gonna love it. So now we're back quite a ways, 300 feet or so. And somewhere here-ish is where the flood zone ends. And then somewhere here is where we have a flood zone. Doesn't mean it floods all the time. The flood zone is it's inside the 100-year floodplain. It'll flood once in 100 years. Flood insurance required for residential buildings. That's pretty normal. But the reason why you're watching this video is you're like, well, what does that look like? It looks like this. This is yours. This goes as far as you could walk. You're going to get to the end. You're going to think you're there. You're like 1/3 of the way there. You go around a little bend. It goes and it goes and it goes. It goes so far that I'm exhausted for this segment. And I'll show you in another clip what it looks like back there. So you want to be on the St. Johns. You want to be able to fish, hike, camp, have room for your dogs to run, your cattle, your horses. Live here. It's like a throwback to medieval times where you actually will have an estate. You can do, make, produce things, live here, be part of your lifestyle. And if you're watching this, you're thinking, there ain't too many of these parcels left in all of Florida, much less so close to Osteen, to I-4, and to the rest of Central Florida through the expressways, which are 10 or 15 minutes away. So you go down the community access road, bring your boat right down to here, right to the hard-packed sand boat ramp. Right here on the St. Johns River, we got Lake Harney, about 10 minutes that way. We got Lake Monroe, about 20 minutes that way. We were down here in a Jeep. We drove a 2-wheel drive Jeep right into the water, pulled it right back out a couple of minutes ago. You can just barely see the tire track, so it's ideal for boats. There's savanna there. There's cows roaming through here for the agricultural exemption. Here we are in the middle of the afternoon on the upper St. Johns. Been out here for about an hour and a half. Haven't seen a single boat. On the weekends there's boats. But if you want your own private riverfront paradise, all you can hear is the red-headed bellied woodpeckers, alligators, and the hammock behind me. And the sound of your private Florida retreat. We're out on the St. Johns River. We're right at the end of the community access road here. What can you tell us about out here?
Well, this is the least traveled section of the St. Johns River, and as we're looking at it, what you'll notice is there is no boat traffic. A lot of days, some days, a lot of days, you'll not see one boat all day long on the river. It's the most secluded part of the St. Johns with the least amount of boat traffic. And a big one for me is last year I placed first, and I also placed second in fishing tournaments. This is the section of the river that produces the most trophy bass and winners. All of the guys that really know their stuff that are on the professional circuit, they come to this section of the river to do their fishing. I've caught more 8, 12, 14, 15 pound bass here than I've ever caught in my life. It's nothing for me to catch 25 to 30 bass over 12 pounds per year.
Holy cow.
So the bass are just huge. A small bass here is going to weigh from 4 pounds up to 5 and 6 pounds. That's considered a small bass. A 10 pound is a nice bass. A 12 to 14 pound is a big bass. But right now, if we had a pole, I could probably catch 2 to 3, possibly as much as 4 or 5 bass here, and I would probably land one that weighed between 5 and 6 pounds right here, right now. So it's full of fish.
So the reason for the less boat traffic is we're above the bridge. So if we keep going this way, we're going to run into Lake Monroe and then downtown Sanford, right? And there's a bridge that stops big boats, is that right? Right at the right on this side of Lake Monroe, okay? So if you study historically, the St. Johns River, the mouth of it is in Jacksonville, comes all the way up, and it doesn't end at Sanford, but Sanford is as far navigable as you can get the big boats. And so they built that little bridge there because not that many people were coming up here anyway.
And the crappie fishing, spec, they call them specks, of course, in Florida. The spec fishing here is phenomenal. We have Lake Harney, which is only 10 minutes to the east.
This way?
Yes. Average this year was about 45 minutes to 1 hour to limit out on specs.
Oh my God.
You had your limit in 45 minutes to 1 hour. So
when we say the boat traffic, we're talking the big boats. So the little boats, obviously you can get little boats. There's little boats here. So this is more...
These are weekend people that come here for the weekend. The weekend is when you'll see people in boats, but still not many. And then the weekdays, it's like you got the whole river to yourself.
This is the kind of privacy that people want, for sure.
For those who like catching catfish, big channel cats, which are really good to eat, fried catfish, who doesn't like fried catfish? We've caught so many catfish here, it's just incredible. The catfish are thick too.
And we're right on the end of the road, which we saw earlier in the video, which runs straight down the edge of the property. It pretty much ends right there. So we're right on the edge of the property. There's not that, is there many people out here usually, or is there hardly no one out here usually?
Nobody out here. The deer, the turkey are very, very large. The deer are just, for Florida, the deer are huge, really, really large deer because there's so much forage. So the wildlife is very, very healthy.
Now when we came up the road, we saw about 8 or 9 turkey, and how tall were they?
Oh, at least 3 foot.
That's huge. They were big turkeys.
The deer are also very big.
All right, so earlier in the video, we started going down the common road. This is the end of the road right here. And that's where we just were on the other side of the car. So now we're going to walk down this way, and we're going to go down to the boat ramp area. Is this wet pretty much all the time back here? I know this is wetlands, so it dries, it goes through
dries
seasons.
Up, and we're at high water time of year from all the rain, and so part of the ecosystem keeps the ground really, really fertile. Everything grows like crazy.
I just heard, is that a bullfrog or?
That was an alligator.
That was an alligator. So you want the real Florida? Here it is.
PBS has done 2 shows out here, environmental shows.
And what was the interest for PBS out here regarding the terrain and the land?
It was organically growing cattle, raising cattle, organic chickens, organic eggs, and then they wanted to see the entire ranch and see what it was about, where the animals graze at. And so they came out here. We've done 2 shows with them now. And they said they felt like they're filming, the film crew says in the top 10 is one of the most beautiful properties in the state.
I agree. We have a little camera crew out here. Normally there's nobody out here, so everyone's out here today documenting the property. You were telling me that the PBS documentary was saying there was 3 different types of ecosystems here. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell me what those are.
Yeah, we have the riverfront and the water area with the cypress head, and then we have the pasture land, which in the area is called the savanna, which just grows beautiful grass.
And that's on the other end, right over there.
Side of the cypress head. And then right past the savanna, we have the oak hammocks.
And then we have, right now there's cattle out here. About how many cattle do you have on the property now?
Probably about 18, I think. 19.
Good. And I know the cattle kind of go from land to land, so.
They travel about 110 acres around here.
Okay. And the neighbors are, I know these are city boy questions, but the neighbors are good with that? That's
yeah, they have they have the agricultural exemption. Like our lot here on the left, we pay $12 a year for taxes, which it would usually be
a year.
$12
a year.
Yeah.
So you were telling me that it used to be $3,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And now it's $12 a year. And how do you keep the agricultural exemption?
By having cattle.
So there's your proof for the tax collector that we have cattle, because we have cow patties. So there's about 18 out here now, and they wander all up and down the riverfront, though, about 110 acres, you were saying?
Yes, about 110 acres.
Okay. Any other animals out here? Horses, maybe? Goats?
Yeah, there are
livestock is what I'm looking at. Livestock.
A couple of horses. This is great horse area because there's so many trails and there's so many roads. And the beautiful part about it is if you're a horseman, which I used to ride horses quite a bit, is there's no cars. and it's so peaceful and so beautiful. Getting to be one with nature, just getting into nature and taking these pathways and these little roads on a horseback is incredible.
Do people have horses out here right now? Are there horses on the land? Okay.
One person has 2 horses, but they never ride them. Back, one of the horses was once mine. I rode her.
Ah, okay.
Little Palomino, and I rode her around and had a great time.
So for the house, we were over there and we saw that long road, which is the dividing line for the lot next door. And so we were walking along the first lot, and now there's another lot here, and this is the lot with the house. And you were telling me that this boat ramp pretty much bisects, it's right on that line between the 2 lots.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So
it's a really nice little boat ramp too, because it's a white sand boat ramp and nice and solid. And then this little beachhead going all the way down in front of the trees is all white sand, all solid white sand beachhead.
And it's real solid. Just a couple minutes ago, we were in a 4-wheel drive Jeep, and we actually went down, into the water in 2-wheel drive. We weren't even in the 4-wheel drive then, and we just backed right out. So the ground is really solid. So you take that boat down your community access way, come down here, back it right in, and you've got your own boat ramp right here on the St. John's.
Yeah, we were getting ready to build a dock right here with a little camp house.
Nice.
And a nice little dock for the boat. And of course we're selling it now, so we didn't get that far. And then we have 2 waterfronts, because the little creek that comes down the edge of the property, also a dock can be built there. And that's where I actually kept the boat for the last 9 years. I kept the boat there, but we launch here.
Okay.
But we never did get to build our camp. We were going to build a little camp right here with the dock on it.
We're going to walk down there in a minute, just so we can get a feel. And as I'm sure you'll see from the aerials and the pictures that we'll be providing, the lot is really skinny. It's plenty wide enough, but it's really, really long. The entire length of the back. Does that signify anything, or is that just that's for fishing poles?
Fishing poles.
Okay, just checking, making sure it wasn't a boundary marker or something. Hear the belted kingfisher in the background if you're into birds. So I'm looking for the property dividing line, which is up here somewhere. So we're still walking along the property. So all of that. Keep walking, walking, walking. And there is a road that goes straight back from the property without using the community access road. It's just a little rougher of a road.
And there's a close approximate, that white PVC pipe to the property line.
So right there's a little piece of white PVC, really little, right there. You can hear the drone flying overhead. And so lots of these trees. In real life, my impression is nobody really cares about the property lines back here. Would you agree, right?
No.
Everyone's just... So we're gonna walk, we can walk back here. Tell me about this land. Now we're on the neighbor's land to your left.
Yes.
And do they have a house on that, or is that just all empty?
There's only one other house out here on the riverside besides us. That's it.
So this lot next to you, as you're facing your front door, there's no house. If we went straight, we're just going to hit basically woods, and then we'll hit G-Riz Road. There's no house here, so there's not even anybody out here to protect this. And then whose is this up here? Do you know anything about the...
That's the other house. That's of course up
On the
by
other
Whiz.
side of the lot.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
And
2 lots
that's
down.
their camper, which has been there forever, and they're talking about wrecking it out and bringing it on out. They're gonna take that thing out of here.
Okay.
Been there a long time.
My bad. So 10 minutes to Lake Harney this way. And then how long normally, just roughly, till we get to Lake Monroe and Sanford that way?
Lake Monroe takes you about probably moving at about 20 mile an hour, 25 mile an hour, take you about 30 minutes.
So it's quite a ways. You can see there's lots of houses across the way. A couple of campers. Beautiful. That is prettier than a picture there.
And the entire time we've been here, not one single boat. No boat traffic.
All right, well, let's keep walking down here. Just in case somebody's interested in the property, doesn't want to get their feet dirty. We'll do it for you virtually.
And this is full of deer and turkey.
Tell us about the deer. What you said they were special because they're white-tailed deer, right?
Yeah, white-tailed deer, and because of the abundance of forage and water, they're very, very big for Florida deer. Very large.
Are there a lot of them? A few?
A lot. You'll see them. Usually, you see them in groups of about 4 to 5, sometimes 6, 7, 8. Now and then you'll see 12, 15 of them in one spot.
So nobody here has a dock on this side of the river. And you don't really need it because you've got that really great boat ramp right there. Do people ever camp back here?
Not really, no.
So it's like way private. Now, do you hunt? Have you ever grabbed any of the turkeys, deer?
I gave up hunting. All I do is fish now. I used to hunt quite a bit in my younger days. I never did shoot a deer, but I did a lot of bird hunting.
I think we saw a bald eagle when we were out here the other day. Is that right? Are there bald eagles on the property?
Oh, yes. Bald eagles and osprey. I think 3 different types of owls. A lot of owls.
Let's see. That's the owls would be eastern screech owl, probably. Do you know your owls? There'd probably be barred owls. Maybe great horned owls. Did I guess right?
Great horn. Correct. Right. And I personally, I think...
oh, right there. Look at that. Our red-bellied woodpecker. Kind of common, but still pretty. He's not hiding from us yet. Now he's hiding.
Between the owls and the eagles, I think that explains why we don't have many snakes.
Very nice. I haven't seen one out here ever.
No, very seldom see a snake.
Anything that you'd want people to know? They were out here looking, because you just come out here if you don't know what you're looking at. Sometimes it's just like, oh, the river. Anything that people might normally miss? It's important to know.
I think just the seclusion is, for me, was huge, because I did a lot of river fishing over the years. Over the last few decades, I fished the St. John's a lot, and I fell in love with this because it's so secluded, and the lack of boat traffic. To be able to go out on a river on a day like this and not even see a boat, it's incredible on the St. John's, because the St. John's typically has a lot of boats on it, but this several mile stretch does not.
Gives you so many trees, it's hard to get a feel for just how far back, how large 13 acres is. That's just a small part of it right there. It goes back and back and back. I'm going to show you some of the savanna areas also in this video. Look at those trees. Look at that. You can't buy that anywhere. A reason to live out here for sure.
The temperature is about 15 degrees cooler under all this tree hammock.
It's not even hot, and it's a hot day.
No,
It's not even hot today out here.
No.
So we are at the back of the community road, about 70% into the property from the main road. Right up there is the St. Johns River. And do a little curve at the end of that to the boat ramp. And the property line for this property, the vacant property here, goes right there. So that creek is the side of it. And then you can see the road continues just past over there. So for a good period of time, the owner of this land kept his boat here, protected from storms, and of course that goes right out to the river, right down that way. And then we've got the cattle. Why do we want cattle? One, because they're fun. Two, because the agricultural exemption. The taxes used to be about $3,000 on the vacant lot, for instance, here. And now with an agricultural exemption, he says it's like $12 a year. You got to keep cattle on it. And there they are, right here. This middle savanna area back from the river. It's drier. It's still wet enough where the cattle like it. You can see he's a little splashing in a puddle there.
We're meat eaters.
All
I eat
right.
meat every day. Oh yeah. Like I had.
So here we are. You can see the savanna goes quite a bit that ways. Obviously the cows like it here. And then it goes back farther and farther and farther. So far, you don't even want to go back there. That's how far. You want rural property? Right here. Here they come. This is what you get with your own piece of Florida here. We are about in the middle of the 13 acres. The St. Johns River's that way. We're in the Savannah part. We have some future YouTube stars right there. Back to the St. Johns River and the boat ramp. It's a little wet right in there. Of course, you do need four-wheel drive. That should not surprise you. Come straight down here. You can see in the way there. Got a little pond, which we'll highlight. think I just missed a good shot of the cattle in the pond. They were up to their stomachs in it just a few seconds ago. Nice thing about having this much property is while you know where your property lines are, doesn't really matter. You have no neighbors on each side. No house or anything on that 13 acres there. And then there's your road right there. There's the pond. Property line is on the other side of the pond. These cattle are owned by a neighbor. Still kind of free range back here. If you wanted to keep them off your property, you could. Why would you? But you could. Or you could get your own cattle. Or some horses. Or some goats. Or some llamas. You can see this is almost like a park. Our back is to the St. Johns River. We're walking north towards Whiz Road. We're pretty much in the middle of the 13-acre strip. You can see how beautiful this is. Got live oak trees draped in Spanish moss. Got different epiphytes up there. Got the resurrection fern, which is all dry, and then when it rains, it comes out green. Of course, the property, I'm sure, gets wet a couple times a year. It's pretty dry now. Imagine driving back with your boat, your four-wheel drive vehicle, back here, thinking, this is all mine. All of this, property next door, not even a house on. Property the other side, not even a house on. This isn't maintained, but it's so cute, it obviously looks like it's maintained. This much land, everything's far away. People are going to want to know if you can bring horses out here. Certainly, if you wanted to. Good fence, cross fence this. Turn into what you want. Get your own cattle, livestock, or just enjoy the privacy. We're just going to give you a feel for what it's like. Talk about living in nature. Got a gopher tortoise there. There's a deer's footprints over there we were looking at in the mud. About as big as your palm. Must be a huge deer that live out here. What kind of deer live out here?
Whitetail.
And you said they have an unusual color, right?
Yeah, well, they've got one called a swamp deer that they're almost black.
And are there a few deer, or a lot of deer, or?
Herds.
Herds of deer, goodness. All right, so we've got this, and you actually built this, didn't you, right here?
Mm-hmm, yes.
So we built this little entrance here. Kind of give it a nice little thing. And these bottle brushes, and you say you put these in?
Yes.
So tell me about the bees that you had out here, which the buyers for your land could have if they wanted.
Yeah, the bottle brushes, I planted about 3 city blocks of bottle brush for bee habitat, for feed for the bees. And within about 30 days or so, we had 5 gallons of honey per hive. And they're getting ready to bloom again. They're just budding out, so they bloom year round. And it's the bee, as far as I'm concerned, it's the bee's favorite flower.
And right now there's one hive out here that you know of, right?
Oh yeah, I got one hive left. The hurricane destroyed my hives last year.
All right, so this is the lot across from our subject property. It goes from here way down to the building, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
This is all one parcel. And I think you said his first name was Paco, right?
Paco.
So that's Paco's land. And what is he doing with the land as far as you know?
He is running a few cattle, keeping the agricultural exemption going on all the properties.
Good. So on all the properties, even your property,
yes,
he's got cattle back there now, right?
Right.
So that was a cattle that we'll see in the videos, right? So notice he's got some horses out here as well.
2 horses.
And then this is this got a house on it, or is this an empty lot?
Vacant lot.
This is a vacant lot here. It's got an old car from the 50s or 60s back there. Pretty bamboo. So you've got, on the way into your land, you've got this property, which we'll look at in a second. You've got this vacant land, where our property's up here by this white truck in the distance. All right, so what is Paco building something up there? He's got a barn, right?
Built a barn.
And is it a house? Is it just a barn, or is it a barn that you can live into?
A barn with a little living area.
Okay, and is he planning to live in the house full time?
Yes. He's retired.
Nice. This is the place to retire to. So we're taking you in this way, because if you've never been here, sometimes you're not sure exactly where you're going. But it looks like it's pretty easy once you know, like most things. Now, what kind of animals does Paco have? We've got the horse, we've got a couple of cows that he's running on the property here.
Chickens, ducks, pigs, cattle, horses, which were all mine, and I sold it all to him. They're his now.
So we're coming up here on a house. So there's a vacant lot. This is the house. We're just going to go into the head of the driveway here. And these folks, this land also goes all the way back to the river, straight back.
This is the only other house on the river side of Whiz.
Is this 13 acres or a little bit more or less? Do you have an
About the
idea?
same.
About the same? All right, I'm just going to not go onto the property, but right from here. So you can get a feel for, of course it's wooded, how wide it is, and then it goes back way back. Okay. Now you've owned this about 10 years, and you said you've raised this up, this land. Is that right? The driveway we're looking at. Yeah.
A couple of feet. I raised it up, made a really good road out of it.
Yeah, because before it had a tendency to be a little wet.
Right.
And now it's not wet, so you can see it's been mounded. So you brought dirt in from your properties, and also you bought some dirt. Is that right?
Most of the dirt was bought, dump truck after dump truck.
That was a big project, but it certainly ends up looking good. And we have a gate here. They used to gate all the way off. It's not gated anymore. So this is going to be open. Just half the gates here. And if you like bottle brushes, or you like bees that like bottle brushes, you can see we got plenty here. All right, so now we're past the neighbor's house. And this is the lot right next to you, right?
Right. Empty lot.
So one of the advantages of this, there's an empty lot on the left. There's an empty lot on the right. Each lot's about 13 acres. That's about 40 acres of land surrounding you that nobody lives on. This is the neighbor across the street. As you can see, this is certainly the rural paradise. Oh, right on cue, we got the rooster that everybody says that they want. Nice access road. Look at this, like a park. Big mature trees. That is your neighbor. You want some privacy? That's your privacy right there. This is your really only neighbor within sight right here.
Right.
And this is a new construction, right?
Yes. Still underway.
All right, so we want to go down here to highlight the privacy. Bottle brushes don't grow as good on this side of the road for some reason.
No, those are new.
Ah.
I planted those 2 years ago.
So
they were a little bitty.
You like
I planted
these?
these about 8 years ago.
And he had to complete these. So now we're past property with the house. And this vacant lot right here. Beautiful. This is our community access road. This is actually part of this lot, right?
Everybody that lives on Whiz has access to this road.
Okay, and this is part of, legally, I guess it is on the survey, it would show it's part of this lot.
Right.
Right, but this is an easement.
Yeah, easement. My wife has a regular car. She goes there. We have some neighbors that have regular cars.
Okay.
They go there in them.
And the idea is you open this gate up and you can pull your boat straight down. If it goes straight, and then there's a little creek right on the edge of this property that kind of bows out a little bit like that. And when the road kind of bows around the creek and then goes straight back to the river. And then there's a hard-packed white sand boat ramp that'll get your boat right onto the St. Johns River. And you don't think anybody would have any trouble getting any boats back here, right? They've done it lots.
We take our 24-foot tri-pontoon boat and I pull it down there with a Ford F-350 dually. And I have no, and I mean, it's a huge boat. It's super wide, 10 feet wide, and we have no problem launching or getting there. No problem whatsoever.
These few neighbors. In the distance, the sound of chickens. We saw some raccoons. This is the middle of the day. We saw some turkeys, red-shouldered hawks, belted kingfisher.
Fish busting the surface in the St. Johns.
We did hear some alligators way back there in the hammock part of the section. We've got bees, wild bees from the beehive. You can get your own beehive if you want out here as well. Horses, cow, deer, the fish that you get out of the St. Johns River.
Well, last year I placed first and I placed second in fishing tournaments right at the end of our property. And I've caught more, 8, 10, 12. My biggest bass has been 14 pounds. I've never caught this many big bass. All the tournament fishermen come to this part of the river to fish tournament. They catch more big fish in this section of St. John's than any other, and it's the least traveled section